We need to realize what Carlos Alcaraz is doing. February 21st, 2026, Khalifa International Tennis and Squash Complex, Doha. The match is over in 50 minutes, the shortest professional final of Carlos Alcaraz's career. Arthur Fils, one of tennis's rising stars, has won exactly 3 games. The scoreline, 6-2, 6-1, doesn't just suggest dominance, it screams it. Alcaraz walks off the court with his 26th career title, his 12th consecutive victory of 2026, his 30th straight win on outdoor hard courts. And somehow, inexplicably, he looks almost disappointed. There is always room for improvement, he says in the post-match press conference. I still see myself with weaknesses. Wait, what? This is a player who just completed the career Grand Slam at age 22, who has 7 major championships before his 23rd birthday, who is undefeated in 2026 and dominating the sport in a way we haven't seen since the peak of the Big Three. And he thinks he has weaknesses? That's when you realize we're watching something we might never see again. Not just a great player or even a champion, but a generational phenomenon who's rewriting what's possible in tennis at an age when most players are still figuring out who they are. The numbers are staggering. The achievements are historic. But more importantly, the people who know tennis best, legends, rivals, coaches, champions, are all saying the same thing in increasingly urgent tones. We need to stop and appreciate what Carlos Alcaraz is doing right now, because this might be the greatest start to a tennis career in the history of the sport. And it starts with a number that shouldn't be real.
7 Grand Slams at 22, the record that redefines possible.
Let's establish context. When Roger Federer was 22, he had 0 Grand Slam titles. When Rafael Nadal was 22, he had 3. When Novak Djokovic was 22, he had 1. When Pete Sampras was 22, he had 2.
Carlos Alcaraz has 7.
Not 4. Not 5. 7 major championships before turning 23 years old. The youngest man in the Open era and in history to win 7 Grand Slams. He's surpassed Bjorn Borg, who won his 7th major just after his 23rd birthday. He's obliterated the pace set by tennis's greatest champions. Rick Matchy, the legendary coach who trained Serena Williams and Maria Sharapova, put it bluntly after watching Alcaraz's Doha exhibition. Alcaraz is a combination of Agassi, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, all wrapped into one. Even though he has elements of all of them, he never copied any of them. His unique imagination, creativity, and overall flair is a big reason why the Spanish magician is going into rare air indeed. But here's what makes Alcaraz's 7 Grand Slams even more remarkable: the variety. He's won twice at the US Open, 2022, 2025, twice at Wimbledon, 2023, 2024, twice at the French Open, 2024, 2025, and now, once at the Australian Open, 2026. He's conquered every surface, every Grand Slam, every type of condition and opponent. By any standard, Alcaraz's career titles at his age exceeds the early achievements of any male tennis player in the history of the sport, Sky Sports declared after his Australian Open victory. We may well be witnessing the greatest player of all time.
The greatest player of all time, at 22 years old.
Andy Roddick, who reached a US Open final at 21 and won at 21, put Alcaraz in perspective on his podcast. Carlos Alcaraz is now squarely in the company of Edberg, Becker, Wilander, Lendl, Connors, McEnroe, Agassi at 22 years old. That's not a prediction. That's a current assessment. Alcaraz isn't working toward legendary status. He's already achieved it. But 7 Grand Slams only tells part of the story. The career Grand Slam, youngest in history, January 26th, 2026. Rod Laver Arena, Melbourne. Alcaraz stands across the net from Novak Djokovic, the player with 24 Grand Slam titles, the man many consider the greatest of all time, the champion who has owned this tournament for over a decade. The first set is brutal. Djokovic dominates 6-2, looking every bit like the champion who's won 10 Australian Open titles. The crowd watches nervously. Is this where Alcaraz's Australian Open curse continues? Then something shifts. Alcaraz wins the second set 6-2, then the third 6-3. Then, after Djokovic fights back and holds serve at 5-6 in the fourth, Alcaraz breaks him in the next game to win 7-5.
Final score 2-6, 6-2, 6-3, 7-5.
With that victory, Carlos Alcaraz becomes the youngest player in tennis history to complete the career Grand Slam. At 22 years, 272 days old, he's conquered all four majors faster than any man who's ever played the sport. The previous record? Don Budge, who completed his career Grand Slam at the 1938 French Open 2 days before his 23rd birthday. Alcaraz shattered that record by nearly 4 months. In the modern era, only 6 men have achieved the career Grand Slam: Rod Laver, Roy Emerson, Andre Agassi, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. Alcaraz became the 7th, and did it younger than all of them. Nadal completed his at age 24, Federer at 27, Djokovic at 29, Agassi at 29,
Alcaraz at 22.
Djokovic, gracious in defeat despite the crushing disappointment, addressed Alcaraz during the trophy ceremony. Congratulations, Carlos, on an amazing tournament and an amazing couple of weeks. To your coach, family, and team, what you have been doing is historic, legendary. You are so young, you have a lot of time. I am sure we will be seeing each other many times in the next 10 years. Historic, legendary. From the man who has 24 Grand Slams and is widely considered the GOAT. But wait, it gets even more impressive. The Australian Open semifinal, the match that revealed everything. The Australian Open final was historic, but the semifinal against Alexander Zverev might have been more revealing about what makes Alcaraz special. Alcaraz raced to a 2-0 lead. He was cruising. The final seemed inevitable. Then his body betrayed him. Cramps, severe cramps. The kind that have ended matches for lesser players, that have derailed Grand Slam runs, that signal physical collapse.
Zverev won the third set in a tiebreak, then the fourth in another tiebreak. The match was level at 2 sets all. The crowd held its breath. Was Alcaraz done?
Fifth set. Alcaraz, still cramping, still struggling physically, found something deeper than fitness. He won the deciding set and the match after 5 hours and 27 minutes, the longest Australian Open semifinal in tournament history and the third longest match overall in the event's history. That match showed me everything I need to know about Carlos, Andre Agassi said afterward. The body was failing. The opponent was surging, but the champion inside him refused to lose. That's not something you can teach. Agassi, who knows something about career Grand Slams and championship mentality, went even further. Alcaraz combines many great qualities of Roger, Rafa, and Novak. The power, the creativity, the fighting spirit, it's all there. And he's doing it at an age when they were still figuring things out. The 2026 perfection, 12-0 and counting. Here's a number that should be illegal, 12-0. That's Alcaraz's record in 2026, 12 matches, 12 victories, not a set dropped until the Australian Open semifinal. No losses, no close calls, just clinical, dominant, almost boring excellence. After the Australian Open, Alcaraz could have rested. He'd just won a Grand Slam, completed the career Grand Slam, played the longest semifinal in tournament history. Most players would take a break, recharge, prepare for the next challenge.
Alcaraz went to Doha and won another title.
The Qatar Open victory was his 26th career title, his second of 2026, and extended his winning streak to 12 matches. More impressively, it extended his outdoor hard court winning streak to 30 consecutive matches, a run that includes Grand Slam victories at both the US Open and Australian Open. I came this year hungry for more, Alcaraz said after the Doha final. I set some goals for this tournament and executed them perfectly. I'm really happy and proud of everything I have done with my team. Hungry for more. After completing the career Grand Slam at 22 years old. And remember, he parted ways with longtime coach Juan Carlos Ferrero in December. New coaching setup, new approach, same dominance. Alcaraz's maturation passes through his schedule, one analysis noted. He avoided defending his title at Rotterdam after the Australian Open. He's managing his energy better, arriving fresh at tournaments, playing smarter tennis. The result? Perfection. But the numbers only tell part of the story. The real story is how he's doing it. The big titles, redefining excellence. ATP defines big titles as Grand Slams, ATP Finals championships, Masters 1000 tournaments, and Olympic gold medals. These are the tournaments that matter most, the events that define legacies. Alcaraz has won 15 big titles in his career at 22 years old. To put that in perspective, Alcaraz has won a big title for every 3.7 tournaments he's played. Only Novak Djokovic, 3.3, and Rafael Nadal, 3.5, have won them at a higher rate. Let that sink in. Alcaraz is converting at a rate comparable to the two greatest tournament winners in tennis history, and he's doing it at an age when they were still establishing themselves. His Grand Slam record speaks for itself, 7-1 in Grand Slam finals. The only loss? A 4-set defeat to Jannik Sinner at 2025 Wimbledon that ended his 24-match winning streak. Otherwise, perfection. When Alcaraz reaches a Grand Slam final, he wins. Period. Rafael Nadal, watching from the stands at the Australian Open final, had told Spanish media months earlier, his career looks like it's on track to become something unique. 6 Grand Slams is an incredible number. I just hope he can win as many as possible. Unique. That's the word Nadal chose, not great or impressive or successful. Unique. Because what Alcaraz is doing has never been done before. The Djokovic rivalry, 5-5 and defining an era. Perhaps the most telling statistic about Carlos Alcaraz's greatness, his head-to-head record against Novak Djokovic is 5-5. 5 wins, 5 losses. Perfect balance against the player many consider the greatest of all time. And crucially, Alcaraz is winning the matches that matter most. He beat Djokovic in the 2023 Wimbledon final, an instant classic that lasted 4 hours and 42 minutes and ended Djokovic's hopes for a calendar Grand Slam. He beat Djokovic in the 2024 Wimbledon final. He beat Djokovic in the 2025 US Open semifinal. And now, he's beaten Djokovic in the 2026 Australian Open final. When the stakes are highest, when Grand Slam titles are on the line, Alcaraz has proven he can beat the game's greatest champion. Djokovic, for his part, has been remarkably gracious and prophetic about Alcaraz's future. He is a nice person, very good with great values, Djokovic said at the 2025 Laureus Sports Awards. He's obviously an extraordinary champion, but as a person, I like him. After the Australian Open final, Djokovic was even more effusive. What you have been doing is historic and legendary. You are so young, you have a lot of time. I am sure we will be seeing each other many times in the next 10 years. From Djokovic, a player not known for excessive praise of rivals, that's the ultimate compliment. The point differential, winning the matches that matter. Here's where Alcaraz's dominance becomes almost scary. He has beaten a world #1 player 6 times in his career. Djokovic once, Jannik Sinner 5 times. Against high top 10 opponents, the elite of the elite, Alcaraz has a 55-24 record, 69.62% winning percentage. Most players are thrilled to win half their matches against top 10 opponents. Alcaraz wins nearly 70%. But it's not just about winning, it's about how he wins. The Doha final lasted 50 minutes, the shortest professional final of his career. He won 6-2, 6-1, dropping only 3 games. Against a top 50 opponent in Arthur Files, Alcaraz made it look like a practice session. "I just played great today and I was really focused," Alcaraz said afterward. "The finals are where you have to show your best level." His best level? Untouchable. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about Alcaraz isn't what he's accomplished. It's what he still believes he can accomplish. The hunger. "I still see myself with weaknesses." After winning the Qatar Open and extending his perfect 2026 record to 12-0, Alcaraz could have celebrated. He could have basked in the achievement, talked about his dominance, reveled in his perfection. Instead, he said this: "There is always room for improvement. I still see myself with weaknesses. I try to get better in training, be better in matches." A 12-0 record, 7 Grand Slams, career Grand Slam at 22, and he sees weaknesses. "For me, success is much more than lifting trophies," Alcaraz explained. "It's about how I feel on court, how I'm playing, the level I'm reaching. This is what separates good from great from legendary. Champions rest on their accomplishments. Legends see every accomplishment as a foundation for the next one." Andy Murray, himself a 3-time Grand Slam champion, said after the Australian Open, "Alcaraz is carrying the sport right now. The way he's gone about completing the career Grand Slam, his personality, his charisma, on and off the court, it's truly remarkable." Carrying the sport. At 22, Alcaraz has stated publicly that his goal is to surpass Djokovic's 24 Grand Slams, not match them, surpass them. "I want to be the one with the most," Alcaraz told El Partidazzo de Coppi. "I want to surpass Djokovic with 24. If I didn't believe I was capable, there wouldn't be any goals." At 22, with 7 Grand Slams already, that goal isn't delusional. It's plausible. The generational question: is Alcaraz already better? This is the question tennis can no longer avoid. Is Carlos Alcaraz, at age 22, already the best player in tennis history at this age? The answer, objectively, is yes. 7 Grand Slams by 22 beats everyone. Career Grand Slam by 22 beats everyone. Winning percentage against top 10 opponents beats almost everyone. Big title conversion rate rivals the greatest champions in history. But there's something more. Something intangible that the legends see. Roger Federer, in a rare interview about the next generation, acknowledged Alcaraz's special quality. "When I watch him, I see something I tried to bring to tennis. Joy, creativity, playing the game because you love it, but he's doing it while winning everything. That combination is rare." John McEnroe went further. "We spent 20 years with Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. We thought we'd never see anything like that again. Then Alcaraz shows up and makes us reconsider what's possible. He's not just filling the void, he's creating his own legacy." Martina Navratilova, with her characteristic directness, said, "If you're starting a tennis team and you get first pick of any player at age 22, throughout history, you're taking Alcaraz. No debate." The perspective, what the big three think.
Perhaps the most telling endorsements come from the big three themselves.
Rafael Nadal has been the most vocal. As a fellow Spaniard and Alcaraz's childhood idol, Nadal has watched the rise with pride and disbelief. "His career looks like it's on track to become something unique," Nadal said in September 2025. "Hopefully injuries stay away and everything goes well for him. 6 Grand Slams is an incredible number. I just hope he can win as many as possible." Nadal watched from the stands as Alcaraz defeated Djokovic in the Australian Open final. The passing of the torch was complete. Spanish tennis has its new king. Roger Federer, though he never played Alcaraz in an official match, has followed the young Spaniard's career closely. "He plays beautiful tennis," Federer observed, "but it's the beauty of mathematics and art combined. He makes impossible shots look routine, but he's also tactically brilliant. That combination reminds me of the best parts of me. Rafa and Novak." And Djokovic? Despite losing to Alcaraz in major finals repeatedly, he's been nothing but complimentary. "When I'm gone, when Roger and Rafa are gone, Carlos will be the dominant force in tennis," Djokovic said prophetically. He'll win 10 to 15 Grand Slams minimum. He'll break records. He'll define an era. 10 to 15 was Djokovic's prediction. Alcaraz already has 7 at 22. That prediction is looking conservative. The schedule, maturation, learning from the big three. One aspect of Alcaraz's 2026 dominance that's being overlooked. His schedule management.
After winning the Australian Open, Alcaraz skipped Rotterdam, where he was the defending champion. He rested, recovered, then played Doha. Won Doha. Now he's resting again before Indian Wells.
Carlos has learned from watching Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, one analyst noted. They played deep into their 30s because they managed their schedules intelligently. Alcaraz is applying those lessons at 22.
The result? He's arriving fresh at big tournaments. He's avoiding injury. He's extending his career before it even peaks.
Alcaraz doesn't exist without Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, Andy Roddick said on his podcast. He's watched them. He's absorbed them. He's literally incorporated Novak's serve mechanics into his own. Each generation drafts off the last. That's progress. That's evolution. Progress, evolution, and Alcaraz is evolving faster than anyone expected. The 60 weeks. World number 1 at 22. As of February 23, 2026, Carlos Alcaraz has spent 60 weeks as world number 1. He first reached that ranking at age 19, the youngest man ever to do so. Now, at 22, he's back on top with a 3,150-point lead over second-ranked Jannik Sinner. That's not a slim lead. That's a crushing margin. Federer didn't become world number 1 until he was 22. Nadal first reached number 1 at 22. Djokovic at 24.
Alcaraz has already accumulated 60 weeks at the top before most legends even got there once.
At just 22, Carlos Alcaraz starts his 60th week atop ATP rankings, one headline read. Joining Big Three elite. Not chasing the Big Three, joining them at 22. So what does all of this mean? It means we need to stop treating Carlos Alcaraz like a prospect, like a player with potential, like someone who might become great someday. He is great, right now, at 22 years old, 7 Grand Slams, career Grand Slam completed, 12-0 in 2026, 30-match outdoor hard court winning streak, 15 big titles, 60 weeks at world number 1, head-to-head record tied with Djokovic. These aren't projections, they're accomplishments, historic accomplishments.
We may well be witnessing the greatest player of all time, Sky Sports declared. Not we might be or he could be. We may well be witnessing it right now.
Rick Macchi compared him to Agassi, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic all wrapped into one. Nadal said his career trajectory is something unique. Djokovic called him historic and legendary. McEnroe said he's carrying the sport. The legends aren't waiting to see if Alcaraz becomes great. They're already declaring him legendary. And you know what's terrifying for the rest of tennis? Alcaraz agrees with the legends about one thing. He's not close to his peak. There is always room for improvement, he said after his 12th straight win of 2026. I still see myself with weaknesses. If this is Carlos Alcaraz with weaknesses, what happens when he eliminates them? The answer might redefine what's possible in tennis. 7 Grand Slams at 22 seemed impossible until Alcaraz did it. The career Grand Slam at 22 seemed impossible until Alcaraz did it. Going 12-0 to start a season while dominating every opponent seemed impossible until Alcaraz did it. So maybe, just maybe, surpassing Djokovic's 24 Grand Slams isn't impossible either. Maybe 25, 26, 27 aren't impossible. Maybe we're not watching a great player or even a legendary player. Maybe we're watching the greatest player tennis has ever seen, and he's just getting started. That's what we need to realize about Carlos Alcaraz. Not what he might become, what he already is. At 22 years old, Carlos Alcaraz has already accomplished what most tennis players dream about their entire careers. And according to him, the legends, and everyone who understands tennis at its highest level, this is just the beginning. The only question left is, How many records will still be standing when Carlos Alcaraz is done? Based on what we're watching right now, the answer might be not many.